we on sound?
Everybody loves it. Everybody needs it. Everybody loves it. Everybody needs it. Let's have fun with checking audio. Whose mic is too hot? Waiting for the chat to come on in. I just got a bidet, but I made a mistake and wiped too hard, so I have a small cut on my anus. I turned the water on and I made a laser, and it opened up my butt wound. Let me use your phone so I can check the audio.
Yes, indeed.
Ba 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 bee 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 boo 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 boo. I don't wear underwear when I ride my motorcycle. It gives me another millimeter for my ball. I'm talking really loud. Is this peaking? Not really. I can have my head right here. Now it's Nick's turn.
Now it's my turn. And yeah, Gilbert G, I'm totally fine. It was thing. I'll be okay. But yeah. Is that feeling all right?
Why is your mic so much crisper than mine?
I don't know. Maybe it's because I have it low, like instead of things.
Oh, I had your mid. Oh, my mid. All right, I had. Huh. All right, you're pot 1, I'm pot 2.
Pot 1.
Why are you so much crisper?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, I just peak and you don't.
Hey.
All right, I'm going to give myself a little bit of high end. Let's see what that sounds like. Whoa, that's really, really crisp. Back that off a little bit.
Yeah.
I just need to have like 0.1 off center. Or off 0.
Yeah. This is, the podcast hasn't officially started yet. We're still in our and it's necessary, like every thing.
Why is it every time we do this, our levels are weird? This is going to be, call it good enough. Good enough.
Yeah. Good enough. Put it on do not disturb. All right. Pausing for room time. All right.
Yeah, pressing record on the recorder for the iTunes.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to RCR podcast number 26. I'm Nick.
I'm Brian.
And we've just gotten back from respective travels to, well, some of us have traveled farther than others. I went to Philadelphia for the Great Philadelphia Comic-Con and made a video out of that, which I don't think anything that's in the video has to do with anything inside the building. It's just me going around and riffing on cars in the parking lot. But you went to Austin.
I went to Austin, Texas. And I just realized that for people who are watching this on YouTube, I forgot to change the information as it went up, so it still says podcast 20. Or is this 26?
Yeah, this is 26.
Okay, so people who are watching this, it says podcast 25. I just have to go into Video Manager after this is done and change the info to 26. 26, Teddy Roosevelt, 26th president, favorite president.
Huh. You're good with presidents. I don't remember any of them.
Someone in the comments says, I just bought a 330 Ci 2002. Any advice? I know my BMWs very poorly, but we are going to talk about BMWs today during my track experience. But first, tell me about Comic-Con.
Oh, okay. So on basically on Thursday, I took my nephew and my brother to see Infinity War, and they loved it. And then on Saturday, like, my nephew was in Avengers sort of mood. So, but he decided not to really get dressed up or anything for it, even though I was kind of like considering it.
Yeah.
But I was going to be there making a video, so I was going to look ridiculous anyway with a GoPro on my head. But basically, I go over there and there's, you know, tons of people in costume. There was a guy dressed as Cuphead. There was a guy dressed a lot of Star Wars people, tons of Transformers people, like on the elevated costume, like basically stilts that made them, you know, 8 feet tall. And, you know, seeing the wonder in my 10-year-old nephew's face is kind of awesome. But the wonder in my face came when I went to go meet the nature boy, Ric Flair, the greatest of all time, and putting up the 4 fingers. And so there was a
limousine rat,
the
Rolex wearing,
Rolex wearing,
limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun. And I'm having a hard time
holding these gators down. Woo! Yeah, and it was so great because there was a line.
Even the guys,
woo, woo, woo. But there was like a line basically going all through the, you know, thing, and
a big line just for Ric Flair.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that. The line was like pretty small by the time I got to him because it was the tail end. Like, I was rushing to get there because the photo ops were listed that it would end at like 12:15. So I was just like hauling ass. I'm like, I'm gonna meet Ric Flair if it kills me. And I got up there, and basically he called everyone champ, which I found like endearing.
Yeah.
But like, because there's a line, it's like you can't really have a conversation with the guy. But what surprised me is the fact that for a man who 7 months ago was literally knocking at death's door, he looked pretty good. Yeah. Like, he looked like just an old man, like just a regular old guy. He didn't look like, you know, the Walking Dead or, you know, as I was kind of expecting. And basically, I got to shake his hand, like let him know how much like everything he's done in the business meant to me, because like a lot of what he did, you know, that got me through some rough times, you know, just watching Ric Flair promos, you know, or just watching Ric Flair matches. And it's just great to be able to like actually meet someone who, you know, I guess it is a case of meeting your heroes, but also like not meeting them to the point where you can be disappointed by them. Yeah. Because it's only, you know, a minute.
Was it something like $20 or something?
Yeah, it was $40. All
right.
Yeah. And I would, and
whatever. Make your money, Ric Flair. This is how
get paid.
Works.
Get paid. And
got
so
no problem with that.
That was great. And then I was walking around to see who else was there because I didn't know who the other guests were. I just knew Ric Flair was going to be there. And apparently there was a huge, like preposterous line for, of all people, Val Kilmer. Like, Val Kilmer was there.
All right, Top Gun.
Yeah, but like the picture that they had was of him when he was Batman. So I think that's part of the reason of people wanted to meet a Batman. But I'm like, that was 150 pounds ago. Like, and that's me being, you know, a total hypocrite. But it's still really, it would have been really cool. It's just, it was professional photo ops only, which means you have to go get a ticket from like the photo op booth, and then, you know, basically you can't take it with your phone. You have to be a professional picture. And,
right. I understand why they do that. It's for efficiency's sake. Like, if I was a guy in charge of professional photo ops, I'd be having that camera on manual mode. I have it on deep focus. I'd have deep focus, high ISO, no flash. I can't wait for that thing to recharge. I'd take the gaffer tape, put it on the carpet. Subject stands here. Yeah. Fan stands here. I don't even have to focus. It's in. Click. Done. Next. Click. Done. It would be beautiful.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it operated when I was at New York Comic Con, and I got that one photo with the Doctor Who cast where it was literally your mark is here, the star is here, and blah 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 blah, and then boom, and then like everybody moving through.
Yeah.
But it's still worth it for the experience because you get a couple seconds and you trade barbs and it's funny. But like I didn't actually meet Val Kilmer because I'm like, why? But also I don't know, Luke Cage from like Marvel's Mike Coulter from Marvel's Luke Cage was there. Cool. Half the original Power Rangers were there, and Bulk and Skull too.
Who's Bulk and Skull?
Oh, that's right, because you would have been like you would have aged out of Power Rangers by the time they premiered, but I was like,
I knew of it.
Yeah, because they premiered in '93, and so I would have been 8 years old in '93.
'93. I'm what? Older than? Wait, how old am I? I'm 36, gonna be 37 in 2 months.
Yeah.
And you're?
And I'm 32, and I'm gonna be 33 in 2 months.
5, okay, so yeah. I'm one high school batch away from you. So.
Yeah. It's.
Yeah. I'd be 90. I'd be in the middle of middle school. So.
Yeah.
What was I watching then? Well, Pete and Pete. Really.
Yeah, Pete and Pete was great. The whole Nickelodeon lineup back then. Remember Roundhouse?
Dude, we're going to the Roundhouse and we're going to have a celebration. When I go to the Roundhouse, I can be myself.
My favorite sketch from that was when the grown man who, but he was pretending that he was a kid again and re-experiencing life as a kid where he had to warm the toilet seat for his father by like sitting on it. And it's like, is that warm? And the father was just like this disembodied voice overhead of like, is that warm enough? Daddy, I've been sitting on this for hours. It's just it's fantastic. But yeah, the whole experience at Philly Comic Con was great. There were a lot of cool cosplay that I got almost none of because again, like the irony of the video, or I guess the comedy of the video, is the fact that the implication is that I never go inside, that I just go there and I'm just walking around, just, oh look, it's an Astra or whatever, or it's an RV or a weird kind of crazy thing, or look at this ridiculous sticker that this person put on their thing. Mm-hmm. And then my nephew was like, that's rude. I'm like, this rudeness is paying for us. No, but I'm glad that that he's a good kid doing the whole right and wrong thing.
That is
knowing
good.
it. I'm like, hey, the owners aren't around. And then it's the whole, I was going to give him the line of like, well, first they have to notice and then they have to care.
And then they have to care enough to do something about it.
Yeah, but then I'm like, let me not teach him that lesson at 10.
No, that's a college lesson.
Yeah, but I mentioned on the Facebook that there wouldn't be nearly as much to talk about with the Philly Comic Con as RCR Austin, the great endeavor.
Yes. We went, this is my first solo mission. Really, since starting RCR, to do things solo. Yeah. I was in Austin, Texas this past week for about 4 days or something like that. It was a fast weekend, and it was also the first time I've been doing regular car reviews for 4 years, and this is the first time I've ever been on a racetrack behind a wheel. Yeah, no, at all, in a car at all. The only other racetrack I've been near was Watkins Glen in New York, and that was when my buddy Tom and I bullshitted our way into the Finger Lakes Wine Festival as journalists before, like, this is pre-social media.
Yeah.
This is 2008. Yeah, there's Facebook. Yeah, there's Twitter, but who cares?
Yeah.
They care. They still care more about magazines, and even I'm from a website meant something. Yeah. Ooh. And which wasn't a lie. My friend Tom wrote for the New York Cork Report. Tom is also the same guy who occasionally, when we do regular beer reviews, Tom is a certified beer judge.
Oh, Tom Mix.
Yeah, Tom.
I thought you were talking about Tom Mansell.
Same guy.
Tom Mix is Tom Mansell?
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah.
My memory. Oh, wow. This is like finding out Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Yeah, same guy. So anyway,
the racetrack, and you're going to see this debuting in about 2 months. A big thank you to Harris Hill Raceway near San Marcos, Texas. Harris Hill Raceway is a private racetrack. They do have American sports club events and some motorcycle races there, but it's not open to the public. This is a racetrack where you buy a membership, and in exchange for that membership and from my perspective, a kind of substantial first-time fee, but the more I think of it, it's worth it.
Yeah.
On member days, you can then come there for free and race whatever car you want around this racetrack. So, believe it or not, America does have a very small kind of Nuremberg-style ring, and it is Harris Hill Raceway in San Marcos, Texas. If you buy a membership and pay your dues every month on member days, which is, it's not free-for-all days, all track rules apply, but you can show up with a car and run it around the racetrack. You are a member, and that's how I fund this. It's, as what they told me about this racetrack is it's a momentum track in that a big engine will not help you. It's not a slow track. It's not like an autocross track, but it's a track where Miatas can hang with larger cars. Yeah. And the first time I went out, big shout out to Nugget and Monica. Nugget and Monica were our fixers. Huh. They own a 2007 Porsche 911 GT3 RS Sharkworks 3.9 conversion. The very first time I drive on a racetrack, it's in a fucking Sharkworks 911. I mean, that's like, I'm not talking wait, yeah, I was gonna go Pamela Anderson 90s boobs with this, but it's like, okay, this is gonna be like an obscure reference. Much love to all snow sports.
Oh, wait, I gotta go check the calendar quick.
All right, what? Nick's over there checking our schedule for the Sharkworks or something else.
Yeah, no, because it's a month off. Never mind.
Do you remember the date from a few seconds ago?
Yeah, July 22nd.
Wow, no, that's a ways.
No, because I wanted to see if the Sharkworks premiered the same week as like the 30th anniversary of Shark Week on Discovery, because that would have been some small world shit.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to wait till July. What date?
Or June. It's late. Are you like
the Sharkworks?
The Sharkworks is late June.
Okay. So remember the date?
Last week.
Okay, last week of June is when RCR Austin debuts. I'm looking at the chat. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you guys, and I haven't forgotten about you. The guy questioned in the very beginning who said, "I'm 6'4", 230, and I want a Honda PCH 800." And the answer is yes, that's fine. That is essentially a Honda PCH, a Honda Pacific Coast. The PCH 800 motorcycle is this. It is a 800cc Honda Shadow Cruiser wrapped in Tupperware, and that's the joke. I mean, it's the in joke. It's one of the coolest motorcycles ever made. It's totally nerdcore. And it was in like a porno. It was called Plumbers Don't Ride Motorcycles. And this plumber shows up on a Honda PCH 800, which is like a very unmotorcycle. What Honda was trying to do was trying to make a cheap gentleman's motorcycle where all the ugly bits, like the engine of a motorcycle, is all covered up.
Yeah.
But plumbers don't ride motorcycles. So it's a plumber who rides a motorcycle, and he goes to some house in California and meets a woman and then fixes her toilet, and then they pork.
Classic. You can't go wrong with the classic. Who needs complex, plots like the XXX parody of Two Broke Girls or Modern Family?
Yeah. There was a porno called Backside to the Future. And it had a DeLorean in it, but it wasn't a Back to the Future conversion. It was just a regular DeLorean with nothing on it. And I think I think it is a man who goes back and bangs his mom. That's Yeah, but hey, there's a market.
I mean, the irony of it is that in Back to the Future, he goes back in time, and what's the actress's name?
Fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, Leah Thompson. She's actually really, really cute back then. But like, it's also like, hey, dude, that's your mom.
That's your mom,
and she's squeezing your leg under the table. And
right?
I'm just no.
There was some serious cleavage in that scene, like right before he fights Biff Tannen.
Yeah.
Oh man. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, how did I get onto this topic? Okay, I'm in a Shark Works, and much love to. I don't want to go down that road because I don't want to talk about a Olympic athlete that I wanted to bang when I first learned I could use my hand to trick my dick into thinking it was having sex. Yeah, not going to talk about 1980, like late 80s Olympic stars. But anyway, don't picture your summit girl. Picture your Marvel superheroes summit girl. Like this girl or guy or them or they, and friends beyond the binary. Shout out to Sleep With Me, a podcast I've been listening to. It's a podcast that puts you to sleep.
Nice. And
it's narrated by the boringest man in the world. I don't know what the podcasts are about. It's a man with a boring voice that tells you stories that go nowhere. Do you remember that one bit from The Simpsons where Abraham Simpson was like, well, mostly what we do is we tell stories that don't go anywhere. Like the time I took the train to Shelbyville. So I tied an onion on my belt, which was the style at the time. You couldn't get the... Imagine that for an hour.
Yeah.
And you listen to it, you listen to Sleep With Me podcast, and like, this is the dumbest thing I have ever listened to. I'm just going to ignore this.
Yeah.
And then you go to sleep. I don't know what the stories are about. Sometimes he reads like Doctor Who fan fiction, or like he writes his own fan fiction, but it's a fan fiction. It's terrible. It goes nowhere. Like nothing's happening. And,
but it does what it's supposed to do.
It does what it's supposed to do.
Huh. I fall asleep to Joey Diaz. And what ends up happening is that whatever they're talking about weaves its way into my dreams, because he was talking with Nick Turturro.
That's a pretty savage dream.
Yeah. From
Nick Turturro's funny.
Yeah, no, he's hilarious. And he's talking about all this stuff about how, when I was an actor, I had to, you're going to auditions, and it's just like whatever I'm dreaming about, it turns into like a weird wise guy, not quite Goodfellas, but it's just strange.
Don't worry, I haven't been ignoring the past chat. I've been getting I'm drunk right now because I just drank 2 servings of Halo, and it's pretty good stuff. Essentially, what I'm doing is drinking 4 Queens whiskey with a whole bunch of oh god, this stuff's amazing.
Yeah, because you're still not over the
hey, it's medicinal.
I know that's the
trim my anus hair. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, if you're going to day drink, that's the reason to do it,
dude. Boilo, it's an excuse. It's like 1:36 in the afternoon. I'm lit.
There were a couple people in the podcast asking earlier about what I'm terming, for lack of a better thing to call it, Ford's Small-mageddon. Of just,
dude, that's a good word. Yeah, Small-mageddon.
That they're just sort of getting rid of everything except what I drive.
The Mustang. And
it's terrible because a lot of people are going to be losing their jobs, and then I don't know, like it could screw with gas prices. It could screw with in terms of, I don't know, like what the market is doing, because everything is moving away from smaller cars and moving towards bigger things.
Yeah, well, the president said he's going to push back fuel economy standards to 2026. Now, of course, we're living in the Trump show, and anything is whatever.
Yeah.
I believe in cars. That's reality. And this time on the track it was a very Paul Newman experience. There's no bullshitting here. You learn the track or you don't. You cross the finish line before or after you don't. So I think that's part of it. I think what Ford's doing is hedging their bet. No, that's the wrong term. What they're doing is they're putting their eggs into vehicles that have a high profit margin. They did get some bad backsack. They did get some backlash from the automatic transmissions, and most people in the chat will know this. The automatic transmissions in the Fiesta, which is an automated manual. They should have gone Subaru's route and gone with a metal band CVT transmission for the automatics, which lasts something like 200,000 miles. I even talked to a gentleman at my gym last night or the night before, and I had one of those moments where I knew I was on the spectrum and just rattling off car facts because I was so happy to have someone to talk to in the gym about cars. Yeah. And I was orgasmically explaining the genius of a CVT and also its faults. And I saw the glaze going over his eyes, but I didn't stop my freight train thoughts. Yeah. So anyway, point is, the guy at the gym drives a Nissan Altima, and he's been through 3 CVT transmissions with this car. Damn. 2 of them have been replaced under warranty, and the 3rd one is going right now. What it's doing is it's not dropping its revs. And I told him, look, just drive that car until it grenades and go get a new one, honestly. Yeah. I tried to steer him towards Subaru because Subaru's building a very good CVT. They've gone CVT across the board with their automatics, and I am a Subaru fan, but they are making a decent CVT, and it does what it's supposed to do and get good fuel economy. The dumb thing about CVTs is when a bro gets a CVT WRX, CVT automatic WRX, and puts that fart pipe on it, and you know it's a fucking CVT. When you hear that thing go, it's not going through gears. First of all, a Subaru WRX with just a cat back and nothing else sounds like ass incarnate, but you add that CVT on top of it, it's like, dude, you may be fooling your halter top girlfriend, but you're not fooling me. Yeah.
Well, what's weird is that now with everything, because I told my nephew about Ford getting rid of like basically everything, and he thinks it means that we're moving more towards autonomous cars, that you're going to step outside the door, an egg is going to arrive and pick you up and take you to wherever you're going. And his greatest fear is that by the time he's old enough to drive, he's not going to get to. And I'm like, dude, you're going to be, it's like 6 years away. 5 is when you're going to start learning. And I want to pull the thing where, you make him wait the whole year so that he drives in every condition. Yeah. Because I want him to like be good at it. Like not just be a driver, but be a good one. And yeah, it'll be like a kick in the mouth to popularity, but
it is a freaking kick in the mouth.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, you end up being a better driver, and you have greater respect for your vehicle and the road and other drivers that are on it, because you realize that they're sort of going through the same struggle that you are, and that it's not a race. It's just a thing. And because like when you're 16, like everything's a race, you're a hammer and everything's a nail. Like you want to,
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
My dad should incorporate himself and be like a driving instructor. It's pretty patient.
Wasn't he like briefly a driving instructor, like officially?
No, my dad almost was a flight instructor. Or an instructor pilot, but he doesn't have a license. But he was teaching a neighborhood kid the basics of VFR flight. But the kid still had to get into a seat with an instructor and do a solo and everything. The whole thing was my dad was undercutting the flight school at Kutztown Airport, which doesn't exist anymore. So whatever.
And some of your, because you like know a bit about how to fly.
Dude, nah. I can follow a heading. I can't take off and I can't land. So, If this turns into Airport 75,
damn, that's a throwback.
I know, but I'm getting that from Family Guy.
No, that's great.
I could point it in the general direction of the airport.
Yeah.
But my dad says that all modern planes, and I think Tony, the pilot, fan of ours, who I don't think, did you meet Tony?
Was he the guy from Georgia?
No.
Oh, all right, then probably not.
No. Tony flies for a major carrier, which we will not mention. And he's a car guy, and I totally love to get him on Harris Hill. Because Monica, the driving instructor at Harris, or one of the driving instructors at Harris Hill, told me that pilots make the best students because they're really used to following instructions to the letter. So I drove. The first time I went around Harris Hill Racetrack was riding as a passenger, as Monica drove a stock manual transmission Mazda Miata ND, the latest generation of it. I think it was does it come as a Targa and as a full? I forget. No, wait. Manual hardtop. That's right. Top was down. And by the end of the second turn, I thought I was going to die. I am going 70 miles an hour. She's driving 70 miles an hour into a turn and wrenching the wheel over. And I thought, no car can do this. What is happening here? Is this how the story of Brian ends?
Oh, that's how I always think of it. Is this how my story is going to end?
Yeah.
Here on this place, this stretch of road. Ugh.
But we go through the one turn at 70 miles an hour and brake, and then we go downhill and accelerate downhill. She's back on the gas into a corner, and I can feel there is no brake. We're doing 100 miles an hour through a turn. And I begin thinking, this must have race tires on it. It's not squealing. It's not sliding. It's hanging on. And I have a poker face on. I'm terrified inside, but I don't want to look weak. So we go around a few more corners. And I say, these are really good tires, I say out loud. And she says, nah, these are the tires that come on the car. And if there was a fulcrum on this entire RCR, Mr. Regular RCR Goes to Austin, it's that. Holy crap. Regular tires are way more grippy than I've given them credit for. We just did 2 laps of this track, and she didn't have to slow down, and it's a tight-ish track. And this is just a bone stock Miata, and it whipped like that.
Well, you have to think, by virtue of us being, or by virtue of this being a more budget-friendly, but also law-abiding show, we never really open it up. Well, I mean, we'll open it up, to an extent, like on those roads where there aren't any, you're not gonna, but you're not on a track opening up like the full engine and getting the most out of these normal ass tires. Like, you wouldn't know that they had those type of grip unless you were, an adrenaline junkie, or who didn't care about the law, or you were on a track. And so first time on the track now, you finally get that full sense of what these tires can really do. And
what this car can really do.
Yeah.
Someone in the comments said, Mr. Regular, my daily upload said Mr. Regular likes the word fulcrum. You're right. I need to pick a new word. I've said pivot for a while.
It's a great word though. Fulcrum.
The Mason-Dixon line. Of course, Adam Carolla says that a lot.
Pivot would have been my go-to synonym. I'll find a word
for threshold would be another good one.
Let's see. Fulcrum synonym.
I love Thesaurus.
Axle, center, focal point. Heart, hub.
Hub is a good one.
Hinge. Kingpin.
Nah.
Axle.
Nah. The Punisher. I think I'm going to use hub.
Hub.
Because every single one of my thoughts came from that hub. Regular cars, modern regular cars, are much better than you think they are. They can corner harder than you think they are. They can corner faster than you think they can. And they can hold corners much greater than you think they can. Tires and the age of the brake fluid. That was another thing that came up. I drove 4 cars on Harris Hill Raceway. I had the greatest driving day in the worst car available to me. I talked about the Shark Works. The Shark Works, I went fast, but I didn't belong in that car. I felt I was probably going faster around that track in the Shark Works than anything else that I drove. But I didn't learn anything. This car is a scalpel. Sure, I can cut a Porsche Shark Works, a Porsche 911 Shark Works is like saying, I'm driving well in this car. What's the name of that big paper slicer that's in every classroom that you're not allowed to use? Or it's in the art room? It has that big knife, like, I can make a straight line.
I mean, I always used to call it the guillotine as a kid.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
you couldn't use that in middle school.
Because my mom was a teacher, and so every day after school, because I went to the same school that she taught at, but wasn't allowed to be in her class. But me and my brother would go and help her clean up at the end of the day. But I had free access to that thing, and I was just like, it was, when you're a kid,
I can go through 5 sheets of paper.
Yeah, and just that fresh cut through construction paper.
Yeah,
like it's so good.
Someone needs to do AMSR videos. They're gonna make bank if they just put a nice microphone like one of these things next to one of those. Just get construction paper, layer it fucking 10 deep, and just slowly slice that shit.
I'm getting hard just thinking about it. No, not really, but still.
That's a Shark Works RS. Then the most amount of time I spent with another volunteer was a BMW 320i. That is a 4-cylinder, mild turbo, about 190 horsepower. Rear-wheel drive automatic. I learned the most from that, getting over my fear. The emotion of those 2 days was fear on that track. I'm gonna die. Cars aren't meant to go this fast. And both Monica and Nugget and Andrew said, or was it Jordan? Said, keep your foot in it. They're like, a corner is coming up and they say press your foot to the floor.
It's counterintuitive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everything we've learned as drivers on the main road says, be a good boy. Yeah. And going throughout high school, and this is probably what I'm going to talk about in one of the reviews, probably the BMW, or no, actually the Lancer. Steph Schrader was a big part of this. Steph Schrader, rider for Jalopnik. I drove her Lancer around the track. And her Lancer was a regular car, but with sticky tires and better brakes. And that was the most terrifying because it was bucking and moving because the suspension hasn't been changed. Bucking and moving around that track and gripping really hard. And it was a CVT trans, and she says, just put your foot down, point and shoot was her instructions for me. Point and just foot to the floor. And like, I can't. I kept lifting. I kept wussing out. And I forgot what I was talking about.
The fear.
Fear I'm going to crash. Fear our car isn't meant to move like this. And everybody kept saying, go faster. Go faster. No, faster is bad.
Yeah.
I'm a good boy. When the teacher comes in, I have my book already open and my notebook out. I'm a good boy.
Yeah.
I don't talk out of turn. I raise my hand and ask it. I only go to the bathroom at the end of the class. I'm a good boy.
Remember demerits? And
our school didn't have it, but I know what you mean.
If I got a demerit, I would just, it was like the end of my month. Like I would feel guilty about it for the rest of the month. And also because they would send me to my mom instead of to the principal, which is arguably worse. So, because that's the problem when your mother works at the school that you're at. They're just like, well, no, send him to his mother. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So I wave it, like when I drive in my town, I wave to the police officers. Hello, I'm a good boy.
Yeah.
I head check on my motorcycle, and I always flip my hand on the brake lever to flash my brake light on the motorcycle so people know that I'm slowing down. I'm a good boy. I drive a Wingadinga car that makes old people that placates the I drive a Wingadinga car that placates the old.
Yes.
I'm a good boy. I'm on your side. But on a track, you have to be bad. You have to treat the car as disposable. And most people at Harris Hill, and I'm learning at most small tracks, just drive Miatas. Beat up, sloppy, nasty Miatas running Chinese brake pads because they say, well, or Chinese brake rotors that they say they cheap out totally. And I saw one accident that day, one car accident of a car that I drove not 2 laps earlier.
Yeah.
And it was, shout out to the Topical MBA. It's a business podcast that I've been on twice. And he had a NA Miata LS Swap LS6. This thing was like driving a light switch. You just breathe on the gas and it's blah. And so I drove that. I blawed out of corners, and then I didn't learn anything. It was great fun. He gets into the car, and then I think he was running a mechanical throttle, and the mechanical throttle, somewhere in the linkages, it got caught on something. Throttle stuck open. He goes straight off the track into a tire wall.
Damn.
Him and his passenger, totally fine. Front of the car's messed up. Everybody's fine. They walk away. His passenger was shaking, but the guy just kind of laughed and was like, well, you know, it messed up the bodywork, but the chassis is fine. It just went through some tires. Whew. And anyway, so I am coming back to Austin. I don't know when. I think the RCR travel schedule will be Chicago next. Chicago revisited.
Yeah.
You know.
Chicago for real this time.
It'll be Chicago. I didn't do a car meet in Austin, and I really should do a car meet because it's right for Patreon goals.
Like, I'll go to Austin. Like, the reason that I didn't go to Austin is because I didn't want you to spend the money if, like, literally there was limited space on the track and there wasn't going to be anything for me to really do but get in people's way. So, and also because of I invented the Philly Comic Con excuse later, but also it's kind of a weird thing of I was talking to my friend Dieter, who's in the chat, yesterday about why I was like terrified of potentially going to Austin, and it's because of the whole track experience, understanding that like no one's gonna make you do anything, but it's also that, you know, it was he told me something like it's super easy to get fixated on one part of a corner, and by the time it goes by you have no idea what comes next. Then you panic because you don't know what to do when you end up going slowly or missing an element and having your time not count. But hearing from pros what to actually be looking out for was very helpful. The other thing that was a good piece of advice was this: the best mistake you can make is braking too early. And just like little stuff to kind of set my mind at ease like that, because he kind of, I don't know, I get, you know how I am with anxiety. I just get like kind of in my own head.
Yeah, and
I live in it.
If I got scared doing this,
I would have been like, just
you can do it.
I mean,
what I think should happen is the thing that I think the order of cars that we went around the track should have been reversed. I think the BMW should have been first, but I would have liked to drive around this track just normally. Like, yeah. I've never driven on this. Don't give me any instructions. Just treat me as if this is a country road and I'm going to drive around it a little spiritedly.
Yeah.
And learn that the sound of the... First of all, I learned, okay, again, RCR for 4 years, never been on a track. One of the more remarkable things is that tires don't screech.
Huh.
They only screech if you really do something stupid or if you burn out. That sound doesn't happen. In hard cornering, and I got some, for me, hard cornering,
Yeah.
All I heard was, and here's your ASMR moment, all I heard, tires, when they're doing their job and even being pushed and forced to exercise their adhesive abilities to the tarmac, sound like a jet passing above in the distance. Quiet, distant, below the car. That's what they sound like.
It actually does sound quite nice. And I'm not an ASMR guy, but
neither am I. Yeah. Although I had it like briefly with the Sleep With Me podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's nothing to hit on the track, with the exception of that one tire wall that the guy managed to hit. If you go off the track, you just go into some grass. But I'm going to tell you all I told you 3 of the cars that we drove. I'll tell you the 4th car, which was the greatest thing. It was the greatest day of driving I've ever had in my life. From Grand Nationals to fast cars to some fun stuff coming up to all the stuff in New Zealand. My greatest day was driving the last car that I drove around Harris Hill Raceway. And thank you so much for this volunteer who brought this to me. Was a 1997 Buick Park Avenue around a racetrack, and it was glorious. This is the car for the guy who says, I'm not using a smartphone, you know, they track those things. The car was owned by a 21-year-old guy who inherited from his great-grandmother. It had 40,000 miles on it. Velour interior. This thing leaned like crazy, but the unique thing is it held the line. Even a frickin' 90s GM boat will track. What Monica explained is that, and this was brilliant, I'm going to use your phone here for the guys in the thing. What a car starts leaning in a corner, and then it reaches the end of its lean, and then holds it. It's leaning, but it's holding it. It's holding the line going through. And this gigantic chrome-wheeled 3.8 liter, I guess that's the 60-degree V, or it's like V6 front-wheel drive. It was divine. It was one of the and the shots that we got out of the front, I wish we could have pushed it hard. Our camera car was a Porsche Cayenne, so it could definitely hold up to this.
Yeah.
And that is a beautiful shot of this okay, first of all, when you look inside the dash, like on the placard on the passenger side, it doesn't say Buick Park Avenue. It says Park Avenue by Buick.
Oh, ooh, that makes it sound like a fragrance.
Yeah. Seeing this ugly ass, stupid 90s GM piece of shit just up on its side, like it's not raising wheels, but it's leaning, it's cresting.
It's like the end of Grease.
That thing did squeal a bit. It is one of the most glorious shots I've ever seen. You are going to like the crap out of this video. We need to do more of this. I will bring Nick back. We're coming back to Harris Hill Raceway in San Marcos, Texas again. We have an open invite to come back. The guy who runs the track, his name's Bo. Talk about baller. Like when you're at a level where you own your own racetrack and you sell memberships.
Yeah.
I mean, Bo's super great guy, funny guy, and everybody else there has a dirty sense of humor, so we fit right back in. We fit in there. I am coming back there. I'll do a video, please. Anybody within the Austin, Texas, or like Central Texas who wants to come to Harris Hill Raceway, wants to come to San Marcos, bring me 90s crap. Or even 70s. I need the worst cars that don't belong on a racetrack.
Bring me your tired, your poor, your 90s garbage. Yearning to breathe on Harris Hill Raceway.
I may need to contact Aaron J. Rogers Esquire, my lawyer, and it would be a good idea for you guys to sign a release.
Yeah.
Like, make no mistake. We're hooning cars around a racetrack. There is a chance you may crash your car.
Yeah.
That may be a price of doing these videos.
Yes.
So, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right. Now,
I need to blow my nose. I'll be right back.
Go for it. If anyone has questions in the comments, hit us up. There was someone in the comments earlier who mentioned they were 16 and about to get their motorcycle license. But the chat is scrolled past. So if you're around, ask that question again. It'd be awesome, I think, maybe for discussion purposes. Things to talk about. There were people who were asking if I'm okay because my journal video went up. And it's like basically the name of the journal video was La Extraño, which means I miss her. And it's about, 3 people that I miss who, like, one of them was my fault. One I felt somewhat responsible for, even though it wasn't my fault. And then the last one was beyond my control, but it was mostly about my grandmother and how much she meant to me. Because in January she passed while we were in New Zealand, and it was me knowing for years that when she passed it would be on a trip. Like, I just knew. Like, I don't know how, but I've known since, I want to say, the Southern Stab, that while we were taking it, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna come back and something will have happened. But it was that decision of, 15 minutes before you were showing up to pick me up to go to the Philly airport, that my mother was like, well, we might have to take her off life support. And I'm saying, do you want me to stay? Like, I'm sure Brian will understand. And, he has fixers. He probably wouldn't even need me anyway. And then she's like, but no, he like, you wouldn't have like my mother's telling me, like, you wouldn't have a ticket if he didn't need you. And it's also that thing of like, why are you going to stay here when we don't know what's going to happen? Like, the whole 2-3 weeks could pass and nothing could happen. And then you missed the whole trip. And so just go. She wouldn't want you to see her like this anyway. But it was me kind of dealing with that guilt of the 1 week where I don't go to visit her, and this is what happens. And it's, kind of, it ends up being beyond your control, and you have to be able to accept that it's not your fault, in a Goodwill Hunting kind of way. Yeah. Of just like, it's not your fault. Some things can't be helped. But at the end of the day, just don't take people for granted, because that was the lesson of my January. It was me taking people for granted left and right, and there are 3 people that I'm gonna miss for the rest of my life. Like, I'm gonna miss them forever, but that's on me. And well, just one of them is on me, but the rest of them, it's like, it doesn't matter who it's on. Like, it doesn't matter the why, any of it. It's just let the people you love know that you love them, and don't, forget about them, I guess. Yeah. And that's kind of a long end run to get to that point. Like, I know the journal is like 41 minutes, and I didn't mean for it to be, but it's just kind of me working through things in a very public way. And it's just, I don't know. And there was a lot I cut out just to kind of cut down on specifics, because I didn't want really anyone to kind of figure out who I was talking about. But it is what it is. It doesn't really matter. And and so waiting for questions if anyone's got
yeah we'll talk to the chat. Someone had questions about motorcycles. Usually my answer to that is to take the MSF course, and 250cc bikes are your friends unless you're a big guy, girl. Hey, Mr. Regular, would you be interested in, send me an email.
Yeah.
If you come to Ontario, we keep forgetting about Canada.
Oh,
sorry, Toronto.
Oh,
hey,
like
Mr.
Canada.
Regular would be interested in. That's another send me an email. Come to Ontario, Mr. Regular.
Yep.
Were you at Bushkill Falls a couple weeks ago? I don't know where that is, and
is that in PA still, or is Bushkill? I think Bushkill's in PA, because they used to tape Monday Night Raw there, of all things.
How big is big? How big is big guy for moving past the 250 to start? You can always do the Suzuki Savage 650. That is a reasonable one-lunger that's fine for a beginner. Mr. Regular, do you have any plans on the list for Chicago already? By list, you mean list of cars, list of places to go? I should probably have a car meet, but it probably won't be in the city for logistical purposes. Mike Steinberg lives out in Schaumburg, Illinois, so it's probably going to be outside the city. And we'll probably stay outside the city proper for ease of driving and also cheaper hotels. And by the way, there is a Homewood Suites in San Marcos, Texas, which is... I stayed at one of those once, well, with my family. Imagine if the powers of a Hampton Inn and Embassy Suites combined. It's like an Embassy Suites, but if it was a Hampton. I think we may stay at something like that when we go back. Anyway, Buell Blast, Buell Blast, Suzuki GS500. GS500 is a little bit revvy, and it's a little bit of a tight suspension for a beginner, so, give or take it.
Someone asked if any advice on not being able to, or how to get over not being able to see someone when it's out of your control. It's out of your control. So if it's out of your control, then, I mean, it's one thing if you did something that put it out of your control, but part of having control is giving up control or accepting that you don't have control over everything. It's kind of hard to come to that realization about certain things, but just having control is overrated anyway.
Yeah. Just watch Waiting for Godot. The first line of Waiting for Godot. Nothing to be done. Yeah.
Which is ties into another question that someone had in there about what are some short like novels or things that are will give you a new perspective on life. And I'm trying to think of like what's a short book that'll give a new perspective.
It's on YouTube. You can watch in Waiting for Godot. They have the whole thing,
the
up
whole
there,
play,
right? The whole play up there, which was filmed in I guess like the 80s or something like that.
There's also a version with Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart.
I know you can't find it on YouTube, but yeah,
I wish I could.
But they have clips. I mean, it was called the more positive versions of Waiting for Godot, which is fine. I mean, the traditional one that's up there is very middle of the road. Hell, I'd watch it just for, Oh Captain, My Captain.
Yeah. I'd recommend The Stranger by Albert Camus. Pretty short book. Very I don't know. It's mostly about justice and I don't know, just justice. But yeah. Let's see. Opinions on the Honda Grom.
Great. Fun all the time. Great city bike. You're not going on the highway with that thing, but great city bike. We have yet to review one. They're freaking amazing. They are one of the most fun bikes you can ride.
Did you have to deal with Austin traffic?
A little bit, but I wasn't driving. I was either lifting or Steph Schrader or Nugget was driving, so whatever. Good stuff. I went down to 6th Street or 6th Avenue. Second I stepped foot on 6th Avenue, some very fit athletic man asked me for $1. Yeah. And I just did the New York City stare ahead. Just the power walk away. I got no time for this.
Oh, A. Dimitrovich makes a good point that The Stranger is actually about apathy and not justice. Just wanted to shout that out because that's a good point.
Never read The Stranger.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great book. Let's see.
There's a Homewood Suites in Schaumburg, my dude.
That'd be pretty cool.
There was someone earlier in the chat who asked if what is the next car company that's most likely to do what Ford's just done with the small Mageddon?
Ooh, boo, 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 boo. Stop doing small cars and just focus on the big stuff. GM is huge. I could see them phasing out, but they have that one platform that the Chevy Trax run on. They have their Sonic and stuff. Well, GM has a World platform. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So they got all their Opals and crap. I could see them not bringing them here and just focusing their European division on Europe itself. I could see them doing that. Mitsubishi is this hot potato right now. Well, actually, who owns Mitsubishi right now? Do they own themselves? They got their modern Mirage, that's 3-cylinder job that I rarely see. Suzuki, I don't know what they're a subsidiary of. Subaru has their new World platform, and they went all in with that, so their Imprezas aren't going anywhere. Nissan. Yeah, Nissan could maybe do mid-size cars. Maybe. Renault owns Mitsubishi?
News to me.
News to me.
I should have known that because I did do a thing, an RCR stories that kind of intersected with that, but it's kind of hard to really say one way or the other what car company would necessarily do it next. I mean, Chevy seems like a decent bet because they, it's...
Yeah, GM is so big they can afford to make weird mistakes and then double back from them.
Yeah, it's not like
so huge.
It's not like Chrysler where everything's under a microscope.
If GM was gonna back off if GM was gonna have a small Mageddon, they wouldn't even announce it. You just stop seeing like Sonics and Sparks and stuff at dealerships. If they do it,
it's just strange to me that something like a Taurus is going to be something that you have to explain to people in like 15 years, saying, "Well, once upon a time there was this car." Like half the videos on our channel are just going to be things that don't exist anymore. Like a Scirocco.
Imagine that sedans would become aspirational vehicles. I think I'll hold on to my Falcon then.
Tell me about
Not that I'm not holding on. It's the mascot of the show. I'm not giving that car up.
Yeah.
Chrysler, Dodge. Well, Chrysler is that. What is? I won't get into Chrysler right now.
I do have a question from the subreddit, which is you go to our subreddit, r/regular car reviews. There's a thread near the top of the page called Ask RCR. Just post your question there. Hopefully we'll read it here. This one, I'm kind of downgrading the specificity of it, but are there any plans for crossovers with any other YouTubers in the near future? Does RCR Austin count?
There was one guy who has a YouTube channel that we filmed this car recently, so you can call that a crossover episode. I think we may do something with Street Speed 717 because he lives in Dauphin County, Pennsylvania. Oh, that's right. I was supposed to call him or text him and just say, hey, Street Speed 717, sorry, I just got back from Austin and I'm drinking. So let's see if I can remember to do that from the time it takes for me to finish this podcast, the time it takes me to finish the audio for the iPhone, for the iTunes, and who knows? I think I'm going to go driving later today. I got to do other stuff. I'm open to the idea if David Patterson wants to do them, but as we joke with each other, David Patterson and myself, we pass each other like ships in the night all the time. So if we can, maybe.
It's like the same with Tavares. I feel like he's always around, Freddie, but like
he's around, but we're just always missing each other. Yeah. He's killing it with that dirt cheap Lamborghini. Roman, will you do any he's asking about
RCR story on Studebaker? I thought about it. I'm not entirely sure yet. The next RCR story is already half written, and it's going to be like kind of a story about that's tangential to the season that we're on right now, but it's not going to be out before that season is over. So it's kind of a weird thing, and it's not going to be like this 1 hour thing. It's going to be a shorter one just because I want to get away from having them all be stupid long, because yes, long form content can be popular to a point, but I don't think I want to make anyone sit there for like an hour and 15 minutes while I ramble on about, all the people who were killed in the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know. I almost feel like we could get away with because this person is like, how do you feel about Doug moving to California? I feel like
you didn't spend too much time in PA to begin with, Doug. Well, you had a condo in Northern Liberties. We hung out once, and then I think the whole deal is that he's jet setting so much to California, it makes sense for him to move there.
Yeah,
because that's where the content is. So yeah,
I don't know. I'm still thinking, if we did a weekend in LA trying to get all the different automotive YouTubers together for like an Avengers Assemble type thing.
Yeah.
But that would be a logistical nightmare.
It's so hard to film. And David was telling me a story about how he got hassled by a cop out in California because he had a camera on a tripod, which made him a film thing. And Farrah said, no, if you want to film car content in the greater Los Angeles or greater Los Angeles area, you better be doing it with a GoPro because the police are there to like generate revenue. So that's going to be a challenge. But yeah, Doug, I think if I predict what Doug is going to be doing, he's going to be doing his on-the-road tests just with a GoPro, and he'll probably have a car on private property where he films. That's my prediction. Yeah.
Very nice.
Or maybe he'll be doing a thing with Matt's, what is it, West LA or Culver City car storage or something like that. Yeah, same as David Patterson went to Atlanta where the car content is. Meanwhile, we stand alone in Pennsylvania. But then there's Street Speed 717 out of Harrisburg who, well, he travels a lot as opposed to when we travel, it's a thing. Ever think of doing another junkyard walk? Yes, there is a video I have yet to film that's going to take place in a junkyard. It's going to be a PS video to RCR New Zealand. And by the way, next Monday is going to be RCR New Zealand's finale. It's going to be the last video next week. So there's going to be some bonus videos after that, but they're not going to be what you think they are. Yeah. But next weekend is the last RCR review in New Zealand. So finally.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of people who are kind of like, how much longer is New Zealand? Because we did shoot a lot of footage for New Zealand. And, I haven't even done a New Zealand journal yet, which is probably going to be pretty short just because so much of my out of the country awestruckenness, like I'm kind of over the whole thing of being out of the country from my UK diary. Yeah. Now I'm used to it, and now it's about being in this place where everyone is so nice that you become sort of insecure about how you're coming across to people. Yeah. And and I'm thinking about like that night at the B&B where we were like literally just out in the backyard laying on the grass looking at the stars, and I'm kind of thinking I could never get this view at home. No. Like in a million years. It's gorgeous, and it's just constellations just galore. Because I live in a place with, dense light pollution. So what are you going to do? Yeah.
Well, we've been going at this for over an hour now. Yeah. What did I plan on doing today? I need to record my RCR New Zealand journal diary. That's all written. It's in the other room. I just got to read it out. I'm also going to make a video called Mr. Regular's photo album. It's like I shot footage of stuff around there that has no context everywhere, and I think I'll do is I'll just narrate it. And this is when we were here, and this is when we were here. Here's some cars that I just filmed driving on the side of the road that meant nothing.
You just like play a character of Uncle Gary making you sit through his slides. Come here.
I want to show you my trip to the Great Wall of China. Not everybody in the Great Wall China doesn't have electricity.
It's also it's kind of a thing of I realize that there are gaps in my footage because I assumed that I took way more footage than I did. I realized that I have no footage from Piha Beach. Like I went straight from Maraetai to that place that with the cliffs that didn't echo.
Yeah.
And which was like adjacent to Piha Beach, so it might as well be the same thing, but I know it has a different name. But that was gorgeous, like climbing up that thing and blah, 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 and just chilling with all the amazing people who I thought I had more footage of, but I didn't. Like, I have nothing of Kaz. And it's mostly just Andrew and Isaac.
Yeah.
And them, kind of hanging out and driving us around. And some of this stuff, I have a point of view video that I shot in the Falcon that we did over there that I guess my GoPro hit the roof of the thing and pointed down, so it ended up being completely unusable.
No.
But yeah.
I have one video of myself in a Nissan Ford Mondeo. There exists a point of view of a Ford Mondeo, but the volunteer who came out spoke so softly you can't hear him over the sound of the wind and noise. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I mean, I could post it and just cut it to where you could hear my voice talking. People might accuse me of cutting the other guy off the whole time, but you hardly can hear the guy at all. He just sort of talked on his voice like this. Great guy. Originally, it was supposed to be an entire review of his, but then I bumped him, and then I just filmed a point of view, and then he didn't talk enough for the GoPro to pick up the voice, so I don't know what I'm going to do with that video. I still have it.
Yeah.
Do you still not have a Volkswagen Golf R to review? Because I can get one in Chicago. Yeah, you can get one. Is it yours? Is your name on the title? That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I get plenty of I have access to. We've been over this
I
before.
Can get does not mean I have. Yeah, and that's the problem. Of course, now we're teaching them how to game the system of... but just be honest. Like, don't let us find out later, because it'll be bad times.
Yeah.
But it's kind of... RCR Minnesota, I never actually considered that of, not that I don't think Minnesota's great. I've never actually been, but I've heard wonderful things. But it's kind of, I don't know. Like, when I'm thinking of all the states we haven't been to yet, or generalized areas, that never really occurred to me.
Yeah.
Let's see. Would you ever be on the Choking Hazard podcast? Never heard of it.
Never heard of the Choking Hazard podcast. Sorry. If they bother to come to continental Europe, that's one big question mark, coming to continental Europe. I know a guy in Minnesota. Okay. Could their RCR Atlanta be a thing? Car culture is amazing down there. So David Patterson tells me. I have access to a regional jet. Oh, Tony. It's Tony. I have access to a regional jet. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Dude, Tony, you'd love Harris Hill. Like, that would be a video in itself. Like, airline pilot drives a race car. Do I want to pay for another flight ticket for you, unless you can finagle your own way to AUS, which is weird because the airport code for Austin is AUS, which is also the country code for Australia.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Should be stopping in
Cleveland on the way to Chicago. We're probably going to fly. We're probably going to go MDT to ORD. Using airport codes, Harrisburg to Chicago. That'd be a fun flight. You never flew out of Harrisburg before.
No, I haven't.
No, it's
so
like
if you're...
yeah. If Harrisburg Airport is like if grandma owned an airport. That's what it looks like on the side. It's all homely and stuff, and there's wicker chairs everywhere.
Aw.
Yeah, it's a tiny, tiny little airport. There's nothing to do. They got like a McDonald's in there. It's like a McDonald's and then the airport store that just sells you like the Cliff Bars and stuff. That's all there is in there. You know, probably we'd be on the type of plane that Tony flies, a CRJ 900, maybe from MDT to ORD. It's like a 2-hour flight.
Yeah.
2-hour flight or 2-day drive. You know, from Harrisburg, because you're already like halfway across the state.
Yeah.
To drive to Harrisburg and get on this like $300 flight to on a tiny. I don't want to call Tony's plane a puddle jumper. I mean, he flies a CRJ 900 a Bombardier, which is a stretch version of the 600. So the plane can go a ways, but it's a narrow body plane of you get in those planes in the passenger cabin and all you hear is the letter R for 2 hours. That's what it sounds like. So wear your earplugs or turn up your jams. There is no meals. You'll get. I mean, why? It's 2 hours.
Are you long enough? Well, to be fair, the Wellington, they still gave you a snack,
dude. Yeah,
they hooked you up with some.
Tony.
What was it? Like
Air
hot
New Zealand.
nuts?
It's an hour flight, and they're slinging coffee at you, hot, fresh coffee and cookies on a 1 hour flight.
Yeah,
dude, you get up in the air, you drink your coffee, you do this. The thing about Air New Zealand on the puddle jumper from Auckland to Wellington is that they have monitors that flip down on the plane, but all it is trivia questions. Like you go to the movies, and even before the previews, they're playing those trivia questions.
Well, yeah, and then there's the safety video, which I kind of could recite word for word by the end of it. It's getting to the point where a lot of people are with the automation bumper at the front of every episode, which I realized when I was doing my journal that came out today, I accidentally did it too, of like, well, our fixers down there were Andrew Lamb and Isaac Blomfield of Parker of Camshaft Software, the makers of
His
the game.
His name isn't Caswell, it's something else.
C-A-S-W-A-L.
Caswell.
We've
been calling him Caswell, and
I just called him Kaz because I wasn't really sure how to say it.
Kaz.
So sorry, Kaz, if you're watching. But I mean, I'm terrible with the name pronunciations too. I'm still not sure how to say Isaac's last name, even though it's. I went to college.
Sorry, Isaac, about hearing about your cappuccino that you were trying to get registered. It may be a drift missile anyway. So in Chicago, no idea what we're gonna film. Half of it is just to go to Chicago and finally experience Chicago instead of just flying through it.
That's the whole reason not to drive, because you don't really want to deal with big city traffic.
Yeah, I want to drive Lower Wacker Drive at like 1 a.m. We'll film cars in Schaumburg, Illinois. Lord knows there's plenty of stuff, and we have our Google email where I can just source cars that we haven't done before in Chicago. How do you feel about coming to a place, hood, wing, something? Want to film my thing? Dylan says, want to film my thing. Send me an email. You know the drill. regularcars@gmail.com. Would you revisit the Stereon Conquest? No, we already did it. We said what we had to say.
Yeah, I mean, if there were if there was a wide variety of trim levels to the sort of,
there really wasn't.
Yeah,
and so I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I think we're good. Anyway, next week, season finale of RCR New Zealand, and maybe a little bit more bonus content trickling out from New Zealand. But after the next week is the postseason break, so that's like a week off.
And you'll have footage from
the Philly thing.
Yeah, from the Comic-Con.
Yeah. I mean, that video take like a minute to make anyway. But and hopefully I'll have like a music video for something out. Because I wanted to do like an actual proper music video for Another Mustang Crashed. That's why I had those like little toy cars, and doing them all in slow motion on my phone. But it's weird, and it's just whatever. But it should be good stuff, and getting back to the USA and doing all that fun mess. But it's a gorgeous day, and we're gonna go enjoy it. So I'm Nick.
I'm Brian.
Have a great week, everybody.
Yep. Good night, day, whatever. I gotta pee.